The next presentation is the Clean Power Alliance of Southern California.
Hi, good evening, council members. Thanks for having me. I'm Ted Bardicki. I'm Executive Director of the Clean Power Alliance of Southern California, of which you are one of 31 members, so really appreciate you having me out. I know you've got a presentation later about your choosing of default rate level for your constituents, and I think I was asked here to just provide a little context about where we are and in our organizational development and how we're preparing for this rollout to customers next year. Before I start, I also want to thank you for sending me Councilmember Tremblay, who is on our board, and let you know that he's one of our most active board members and sits on our finance committee, always asks good questions, so you should know that you are, Camarillo is well represented on our board, and so thank you, Tony, for your service to us. I think I want to just sort of touch on quickly on four main things that we're doing. We're staffing up. I was employee number one back in February, so I've been on the job 7 months, and we're busy staffing up. I've hired 7 or 8 people so far, and we'll be about doubling in size by the end of next year. We're out procuring power. We have acquired power for all of the power that we need this year, and are busy acquiring power for next year when we have a big rollout. It's an intense job. We'll probably do about $250 million in revenue this fiscal year, and over $800 million the following year. So it's a lot of, to sell a lot of power, you got to procure a lot of power. So we're out there doing that. And in exciting news, we'll be bringing to the board next week our first long-term power purchase agreement for part of a wind farm that's being developed just over there in the Tehachapi Mountains. So we're excited that a new organization like us can be part of developing new renewable energy sources here in Southern California. The second thing, the third thing that we're doing is we're kind of, we have 35,000 non-residential customers that we're currently serving right now. That's in unincorporated LA County, South Pasadena, and Rolling Hills Estates, which were the first 3 members of the Joint Powers Authority. So we kind of have some guinea pigs out there. Thank you to those jurisdictions that are allowing us to, learn the ropes a little bit with their customers. One of the things that's been really good news is that we have an opt-out rate of just about 1%. So of those 35,000 customers, we have less than 400 that have opted out, which really is, says to us that folks are really seeing the value proposition that we're bringing to them as a new entity, bringing them choice in their electricity provider for the first time. So we had projected opt-out rates of as much as 10%, but we've been pleasantly surprised that folks are really sticking with us to this date. And the final thing that I want to note, and this I'll go into a little bit more detail, is sort of marketing and our preparation for a lot of customer engagement as we prepare for rolling on what will eventually be just about 1 million customers in 2 phases, in February for residential customers, and in May for non-residential customers across our entire service territory in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. So we're doing things like, just some basic product branding. So the 3 tiers that you'll see presented tonight of 36, 50, and 100% will actually get names. They'll get product names. We'll be bringing that to the board next week. We're rolling out, we have a basic website up, but we will be rolling out a much more enhanced website in the second week of October. And important for you all is, as part of that, we'll be providing what we're calling a member agency communications toolkit, which has got language and ways of providing important information to your constituents through joint branded stuff between you all in the city and us as Clean Power Alliance, through the web, through your newsletters that you send out, through social media, Facebook, those sorts of things. And that will complement what I know has already been some newsletter stuff that you've been sending out. We're also bringing on additional community outreach staff. We have 2 openings for community outreach manager and then someone who's head of marketing and customer engagement. And we're also, I have an offer out right now to a regional affairs manager to be based here in Ventura County so that you'll have a physical presence of someone here who can go to the events, go to the farmers markets, go to community events without having to travel out from LA and really be a resource for your constituents and our customers. And finally, just this week, we had a job fair and made offers and are close to hiring 60 call center representatives to staff our call center that will be dedicated to Clean Power Alliance. Those people are being brought on in October and then will undergo 8 weeks of training prior to the first pre-enrollment notices being mailed out in early December, which is the first official notice from Clean Power Alliance, one of 4 that we send out, 2 before enrollment and 2 after enrollment. And so we'll get that call center up and running and staffed and well trained to answer the variety of questions that will come to us, and we encourage folks, if they hear from constituents, they can always come to us, but we like for that first point of contact for consistency and like that to be at this call center. And we appreciate that, part of what Clean Power Alliance is trying to do is to keep our electricity charges local and keep that revenue local, and that we're already beginning to create jobs here in Southern California. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you've got another presentation on this later, but feel free to, I'm here and able to answer any questions.
Mr. Kildee, do you have a question?
In some businesses, that the more, and let's just say your business, the procurement of power, the more, I don't want to call it, I'll call it volume of power. Does increased volume of power needed equate to a lower amount that you have to pay for that kilowatts or whatever you refer to it as? Yeah,
so there's sort of 3 benefits of the bigness, and I'll say that there's one downside. Okay, so the 3 major benefits are, one, each transaction has a transaction cost, right? And so we're able to amortize our transaction costs over larger volumes. And so just from the administrative perspective, we're able to keep our costs low. Just on the administrative side. The second is that there are a lot of suppliers, energy suppliers out there that would very much like to do business with us because we're large and we're going to be buying a lot of power, and they want to be sort of one of the first people to be selling us power just as a competitive advantage for them. And so we are seeing that we're getting decent prices. The third piece is on the long-term renewables. We will be the CCA that is doing long-term power purchase agreements more quickly than any other CCA involved for similar reasons, that people want to get in on the ground floor and develop business relationships with us. So I think the bigness has some value in price, but also just in some of those relationships, as well as keeping administrative costs down. The downside is that, energy is a volatile market and can be, and we have to, and if we make a mistake, that can have a financial impact on the organization. And so one of the things that we've spent a lot of time over the past few months, and we were just on the phone with the Finance Committee today, is a really, really, really robust risk management policy. And number of checks on all of the power trading that we do to make sure that we minimize the downside.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Morgan.
Just one quick question. You mentioned, because I was wondering when you're going to start building your own.
Yeah.
And you mentioned in Tehachapi, you're building something. That isn't the one that's along 395 that looks like a lake over there, is it? 'Cause
No,
that was being built a long time ago.
Yeah, no. What these will be new wind turbines that are going up. It's a project that's under construction that we're buying into, and if you go out on the sort of the 14 and then you come off, it's you'll see some existing wind turbines up to the left.
Tons of them.
Yeah. So that's most of that is a project called Alta Wind, which is selling most of its power to Edison, although we're buying some power from the short-term market from that project. And it's going up right in there. And that's, you've heard of infill development for like, here in cities. Well, that's an infill wind project that we're doing.
On the side of that mountain kind of up there on top that's starting to peak over?
Yeah,
Is that the ones?
That's this one is more on a plateau and not on on the ridge. Wind turbines on ridges tend to have more avian issues and some higher risk in terms of bird death. So the ones that we're acquiring are farther down, which have a lower risk profile. Yes.
Mr. Tremblay.
Ted, can you give us just some idea of the magnitude of the rollout that's going to occur in February of 2019, just in terms of the volume of customers? You've talked about the volume of or the revenues.
Yeah.
But just
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
So we'll be, over the course of the month, we'll be rolling on 900,000 residential customers across all 31 territories. It's about, it's just over 200,000 a week. And the way people roll on is it's not everybody on day one of February. So people actually roll on the meter read date. So some people have a meter read date the first of the month, and some people are in February are the 27th of the month. And because actually it's a funny month of only 28 days, some people will actually trend into March. But it goes on their meter read date. So on average, it's just over about 200,000 customers every week, which allows us to sort of pick off bites. It is still quite a large piece, and we have been we meet weekly with Southern California Edison and our data and billing manager to do testing and products. We don't want to crash the system. And so there's an extensive amount of IT testing going on and coordination with Edison to ensure that rollout takes place smoothly.
Thanks, Ted. And I just, I'm not sure when Ted sleeps. We are in good hands with him at the helm. I think starting off as an executive director, just in terms of the volume, because essentially this is the largest CCA in the state. It will be the 3,000-pound gorilla, if I can use that aphorism. And Ted has essentially worked on building it from the ground up. And you have all of the aspects that go along with being a CEO in this, everything from establishing a joint powers board with 31 board members, so that's like with lawyers, you're herding cats. And you have the governance issues, you have the energy procurement issues, you have the finance issues, you have risk management, and you have the outreach to the public, and we have a very robust public outreach program that we're just about ready to start on. So I want to compliment you, Ted, because you have to look both at the macro as well as the micro. And like I said, I'm not sure when he sleeps. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan.
I was placed as an alternate, but I got to tell you, Tony's gone to everything. I've only gone to two things when he couldn't be there, but I don't go downtown. He goes downtown. But he's been a very good representative for us. When your alternate doesn't have to use that much, that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, thank you for sending him to us. We really appreciate his service and his insight.
Thank you very much.